and welcome back to part 3 of Final Fantasy XII, where something seems to be happening back here over the East Gates. We can't get back into Rabanastre, all these guards seem to be blocking it. If you talk around to the people here, you might notice that kid from the other part we talked to, Kites, is locked out here too. Upon talking to him, we'll initiate a 9.5 minute long cutscene, so yeah, you know, enjoy!
Stand back there! Bang! This gate's closed until the ceremony's over, do you hear?
Now what?
Open the gate! Alright, out the way.
Wait a second. How come you let these chocobos through the gate and not us?
What of it? This here's a pedigreed parader, boy. Cost tens of thousands of gil, this one did. A prettier price than 100 of you provincials would fetch. Keep your distance. We don't want the chocobos sticking a peasant.
What'd you say?
Step aside. Right then, move them in.
Oh. That does it.
Oh, a fine chocobo you have there. Yes, cedar down stock if I'm not mistaken. Change the soil, change the chocobo, am I right? Yes, different soil means different bouquet too. Take a Dalmascan Barreau's wine, It may lack the flavor and depth of some of your Arcadian wines, but it has a certain strength of character. It's not bad, really, once you get used to it. Care for some, sirs? There's more than enough for all to cool their throats, of course.
You let these carts through and closest gate is ordered. My mail's choked with this sand.
Don't give me a scare like that. You're lucky that ended where it did.
Right. Now's our chance to go through.
The ceremony will be starting soon. I'd best be hurrying.
Okay, well... Vaan, wait! What is it? Vaan!
We will have order. I give you your new consul, His Imperial Highness Lord Vayne Solidor, Commandant of the Arcadian Empire's Western Arm... Your Excellency.
People of Rabanastre, is it with hatred you look upon your consul? With hatred you look upon the Empire?
Spit on your empire! Go back to Arcadia!
There was little point in asking. But know this, I harbor no idle hopes of frustrating that hatred. Nor shall I ask your fealty. That is the due of your fallen king, and rightly so. King Ramanas loved his people, strove to bring you peace. His was a rule worthy of your devotion. Even now, he remains among you, protecting you. His ardor for the peace and weal of Dalmasca falters not. I would ask only that you do your king honor. Together let us embrace the peace his majesty would surely desire. 2 years now divide us from war's bitter end, yet still its shadow looms over all. stifling the infant peace a pall only you may cast off. Achieve but this one thing, and your hatred of me and of the Empire will grieve me not. I will stand fast. I will endure your hatred, suffer your slings and arrows. I will defend Dalmasca. Here I will pay my debt. I swear it now. Though King Ramanas and Lady Ash be gone, they stand ever at the side of their people. In honoring peace, you do honor to their memory and to Dalmasca. What I ask plain. My hopes now rest with you.
Is Rabanasta to your liking, my lord?
It is magnificent. Take this cathedral, for instance. Elegant, yet whimsical in its execution. A stunning example of Galtean architecture. I hope Lord Gramus might one day look upon it himself.
Oh, remember the last one? You're all like this at first.
The patron of this evening's banquet, may it please your excellency.
I am Miguel, your highness. It is truly a profound honor to make the acquaintance of our future emperor, highness. The people of Rabanasta join me in welcoming you.
That's enough of highness. Though indeed I am our emperor's son, I am no prince. Arcadia's emperor is freely chosen by her people. I am but an elected official and nothing more.
I meant no disrespect.
Now that I think on it, I would not have you address me as Lord Consul, for that matter.
No?
Henceforth, I am a citizen of Rabanasta. Why don't you call me Vayne?
I could not. That would not be right.
You are overly fond of formalities. I've just the remedy for that. Tonight you will join me, and we shall drink until you call me by name.
How can he stand about him like that?
Vaan, you just do not get it, do you? He's not doing it because he wants to.
Lord Vayne never did.
You know what would happen if he didn't.
I know, it's just...
So, what would you do different?
I don't know. Well... I'd do something.
Vaan. Vaan! You haven't heard a single word I've said, have you? This place has changed so much. It's like it's not even Rabanasta anymore. Like the Empire is swallowing it whole.
Hey, Penel, that fete tonight. You think they'll let us in?
Are you crazy? It's in the palace, and we don't have an invitation if you hadn't noticed.
So, how are we getting in?
As if I'd know. Why not ask Miguelo to get you in? Or go see old Dallin in Lowtown? Why the sudden interest, Vaan?
I told you, I'm going to take back what's ours. Give back to Dalmasca. Come on, what do you think? If I find something, and it fetches a good price, how about I buy you all dinner?
Oh, please. You know as well as I do the first thing you'd buy is an airship. All hail Vaan, sky pirate of Dalmasca. It's got a nice ring to it. Stay out of trouble.
An airship. I don't know. Maybe, but not through Miguelo. Time to pay old Dallin a visit.
Well, that was quite the speech from Lord Vayne, the leader of the empire that has taken over the entirety of our homeland. The people just soaked it up like the sheep they are. But what can we do? We're just a lowly streets rat. But either way, if our next objective is to head into Lowtown to speak to old Darlin, who's at the south of Lowtown. But before we do that, I thought I'd take the opportunity to show off a few places of interest around Rabanashte. Starting with the Gambit shop. The Gambit shop we can't actually do anything with yet, but I want to highlight it here because we'll be returning to it a few times later down the journey. And so if I can specify to you that it does exist and you need to pay attention to the fact it's there, the less you have to worry about it later. There are also specific shops in Rabanashte that you just will not be able to access and won't have an icon on, but you can clearly tell you're supposed to be able to get in there somehow. These are actually directly tied to very specific bounties, as we'll be introduced to as we re-enter the Sandsea. Doing bounties for specific people will get you different rewards than just the usual, here's some items, here's some accessories, here's some money. For this instance, if we report back to Samaj about taking down the Rogue Tomato, we'll not only get the inventory that he's awarded us for it, and you'll mention a building. Notice a banger standing in front of a building on the north end. It might be worth your time to pay him a visit. Show him the clan primer I gave you, he'll let you in. So there is now a building to the north of Rabanashte that we previously couldn't get anywhere near that we can now walk straight into. There's also another hunt here, and for a while, every time you defeat a hunt, another one will replace it, but I'll only be doing one more. There's someone we need to talk to in the Sandsea that we need to find, and you're going to see me take a while to find it because I go literally everywhere but where they are. Because they're actually right by the front door, and I go literally everywhere else. Yeah, you might have just seen them. They're sitting down on the floor. So eventually, you can tell, let me trying to find him, I'll just start talking to everyone. Like, maybe one of you guys know where he is. Talk to the tavern master. And eventually I'll spot that guy just sitting over there. There he is, there's Gatsley. You saw my bill, take on Frextera. And Frextera is over in the Wester Sands, so we're going the opposite direction. We were in the Easter Sands, but now we need to go into the Wester Sands. Yes, you can tell they put a lot of effort into the names here. I say that, but I kind of prefer the fact that the lands around Rabanashte are so easy to immediately identify because of their name representing compass points. Like, north and south aren't called North Sands and South Sands or anything like that, but you don't need them to be. The fact that you have East and West named after them, so that the Dalmasca Wester Sands, is all you need to help map out everywhere else, because then you only need to remember 2 unique names. And even then, the area north of Rabanashte, you can't get to straight from the Rabanashte. You have to go around from either the Easter Sands or the Wester Sands. But the shop that's open is up here and to the left. You might have noticed if you're paying attention to the map, there's a new icon that's appeared next to the Gambit shop on the map over here that wasn't here earlier. You talk to the Banger over here and he'll notice your primer and let you in. This building is pretty significant for late game, and especially it's very significant for post game. This is where your elite hunts are found. Because in here, the only returning character from Final Fantasy Tactics, Montblanc, that you're looking at there, speaking to him, he will offer you elite hunts when they are available. Elite hunts, as stated before, are far above your normal hunts and are usually boss monsters. They're not just a stronger normal monster, they are specific boss monsters with specific special loot that you want to deal with because the rewards for doing so are always worth it. But now we're a member of this clan, Montblanc can offer us elite hunts. Like I said, when you first start the game, I don't think he has anything for you. You have to travel a fair distance into it before he'll offer you anything. And it's also worth mentioning that he'll give you new rewards every time your rank improves. Every time you do bounties, it will actually affect like an invisible experience system with harder bounties giving higher points that will work towards improving your rank, making you a better clan member. Your rank is not just a status. Other than also getting items from Montblanc, there are specific hunts, both normal and elite, that will not be available to you until your rank is high enough, including some of the super bosses of the game. So be prepared to grind out through all the hunts. You can only do each hunt once, so you will be max level by the time you've done them all. So thankfully it's not too bad, you're not grinding up the same hunt over and over again to build up your level. And down here there's also a clan provisioner, so if you get better ranks they will sell you better stuff down here. And because they're not too far away, you can really make the most of this guy, because he's literally just south from Mont Blanc's Elite Hunt. Which is probably a name I'm going to be sticking with. I would say either Mont Blanc or the Elite Hunt Shop. Because it's not a bar or anything, it's a guild more than anything. If I just keep on saying the guild, there's going to be more guild-like places as we go through the game, so I'll stick with Mont Blanc's place. All the shops we're passing by now have little significance to us right now, because we've still only got Vaan as our playable character, and it's unlikely that you're going to have grinded out your license points enough to really use a lot of the equipment in there. It might be worth visiting the item shop to just get some extra potions, but you shouldn't really need it. But for the rest of this part, well, we'll go into Lowtown at the end of this part, but for the rest of this part, it's just showing off some of the hunts. So I save at the save crystal, and then head into the Wester Sands. I love the music for the Wester Sands. I think it's a perfect desert music, but it also kind of reminds me of Zelda. Specifically, it reminds me of the desert time ocean from Skyward Sword. You know what I mean? Like the third of, only 3 real areas you visit in the game. But anyway, I quickly rechecked the details, because you can do that at any time, to see that it is in the Wester Sands. And the tip that it gives you is to hug the left wall as you go around, and you'll find it. Which is pretty handy, because the Wester Sands is not small. The Wester Sands is also significantly more dangerous, and is where the first barrier can be found. Parts of the desert you cannot travel through because the sandstorm is too strong, and until it passes, you just got to deal with it. Throughout the game there is dynamic weather, so the sandstorm will not always be here, but there are specific spots where it will always pick up no matter what until you get far enough into the game, just to stop you going too far off the beaten path. Like I said, the area you can explore in this is actually pretty huge, but there's a couple areas that I'll be avoiding exploring right now because we'll be either in them later on or we'll just come back to them later on. But over there is Phyrexia, and as you can see, it's just a bigger, stronger version of the normal wolf-like enemies around. I tried to lure the wolf away individually, so I didn't have 2 targets, but it didn't quite work out. But not that it matters, because Phyrexia appears on his own. Now, something that's worth mentioning is that somewhere along this fight, Phyrexia starts taking damage by itself. And I'm kinda not sure why. And the reason why I make this specification that this even happened to begin with is because it dies without me actually landing the final blow. And I don't know whether the sandstorm weather started chipping at its health or whether it accidentally poisoned itself or something, because I don't think Vaan has any access to poison. Maybe one of the wolves accidentally poisoned it, or it takes a chunk of health out when it summons more wolves. But either way, it will die without me landing the final hit. In fact, I think it's just inflicted with whatever it had inflicted onto it now. I think it was just glowing a second ago. But this is a relatively close encounter, and so if you're struggling and you just don't feel like you're prepared, don't worry about it. It just died. But if you're struggling, don't worry about it too much. I'm just tackling some of the hunts that you can tackle now. The next hunt that you unlock is not worth tackling at your current stats or tackling alone, and it's instead better to come back to when you have a bigger team. Which admittedly won't be for a while. Soon Penelo will be joining the party, but she doesn't join for long, and you're back on your own again, and it's only 2 members. I'm talking about having a full team of 3 preferably. So after doing that hunt, I cut from here back to the sandbar because at this point, or the Sandsea bar, because at this point you should know where it is if you're following along. And speak to Gatsly to bank it in. I say thanks for helping out. We get a head guard, teleport stone and some gil. Head back to my shop, save you in sometimes, maybe come have a look. Unfortunately, he doesn't tell you where his bazaar is, so you have actually got to go out and find it yourself. Which isn't the end of the world, like it's not too bad to do, it's just it can be a little easy to misplace because you're suddenly looking for a new icon that you might not immediately recognise is new. But the armour piece he gave us, we need light armour 2 before we can equip, that being the head guard. but before taking an opportunity for me to look around, then I'll get it. The loose bits of license that you can see that are on their own are usually tied to other jobs. Like if you get a piece from a different job, it would slot into that section so you can get the rest of them easily. If you're wondering, well hang on a minute, but I thought you were locked into the job you choose. Well, later on you'll have the option to add a second, but you're still locked into the jobs you do. The next one that you get, the flowering cactoid, is one that you can't effectively do right now. But I will be showing off some of the things you can do with it. It's just you won't win if you try and take it down now. And it's actually in the outpost that we visited near the end of last part, out in the Ester Sands. So let's cut to there, shall we? Once you get to the outposts, it's the once again thing of reading the names until you see the one that is of your client. You can always check what your client's name is at any point but going to your hunts. You're looking for Dantro, or Dantro, which I believe is this guy here. Yeah, there he is. And he would talk about how the area ahead has now been opened up, because when we first got here last part, the path onwards was blocked off. Well, now it's not. The area beyond this and the area beyond that are both available to us. I'll explore the next area, but I won't explore the area beyond that, because we'll be doing so later on, because there'll be a point in the plot where we'll end up there and it'll just be more convenient to explore it then. Additionally, we'll also be able to clean up this hunt on the back travel, because we'll have a bigger team with us to do it. Which is what I recommend. The Frexeter hunt you can tackle with just Vaan, but the flowering cactoid up there, we can't deal with effectively right now. You'd be pretty outmatched right now. Especially because we still do not have access to gambits, and gambits are your greatest friend in this game, and they aren't explained to you until we get a full team of 3. Which still isn't going to be for another few parts yet. You'll get access to turning on gambits, but you won't have access to customizing them until you get a full team of 3. Which is a shame, because gambits is like the best and worst part of this game, and I want to unlock it sooner so I can discuss it better, because I could discuss it now, but a lot of it would kind of go over your head if it's your first time playing. I'd rather wait until it's available in that part of the game and then discuss it as I go through it, what makes it work and what makes it not. But when you enter this area, although the enemies are mostly the same, the enemies are a level or 2 higher than they were. So be careful as you go around, that some of the enemies might give you a little bit more trouble than they once were. It's not the end of the world, so don't worry about it too much, but it's still something you need to keep an eye on if you're noticing that that wolf enemy is hitting you a bit harder than you remember them hitting you. If you've been going through the hunts, it shouldn't really be too much of a problem, because you've likely leveled up again going for Frexter, or coming back from him if you're dealing with all the enemies. So you shouldn't have too much of an issue. It's just worth alerting that it is something that you should be aware of. The hunt is actually smack bang in the middle of this area, but good luck challenging him at this point. My intention actually was to see if I could take him down at this point, but you're going to see later in the recording that I failed to, and so end up just retreating, because he just ends up hitting me too hard. You'll also notice there's another area to the south of where we are, that's between the 2 areas we have been to. I decided against exploring that as well, also going into the idea of, well, I'll come back through it later on. But it is worth noting, if you are curious, that there is another area to the south of us. And it's not a very big one, if I remember rightly. I don't think it actually links to anything. I think it's just loot. But I still decide, well, I'm coming back through here anyway, so I don't need to worry too much about my looting. But the area that I intend to explore thoroughly when we come back to it later on is actually north of us. And I decide to flee to just avoid the encounters as I go on, to realise that the wolves can actually keep up with you, which is a bit wild, because it's the first proper angry enemy. Like if it was like later in the game you'd have enemies that would hunt you down and be faster than you, then sure. But no, it's not like that here, which is just bizarre. But this area up here, there's a small chunk that goes into a big open chunk. I deal with the lone wolf that's in this small chunk, kind of glance around and see if there's neighbouring loot, and then head back, because I know this area is the area we're going to be exploring later on. Those ruins over there are going to be significant when we come back later on, which is why it's worth just waiting. Where enemies are left when you leave an area is where they'll still be when you return to one. And here's the hunt-based enemy, and you're going to quickly see that firstly your wolf has followed us, and secondly we're not strong enough to deal with this flowering cactoid. When he eventually hits us, he's going to be hitting us too quickly and too strongly. And eventually it just becomes a matter of I shouldn't still be here, because now I've been blinded, so I'm not going to be able to connect my attacks often. Blind doesn't make your accuracy impossible, it just makes it extremely little. And as you can see there, we're just not doing enough to justify it, so I eventually decided it's just a retreat. And we'll take him down later on when we've got the resources to handle him easier. If you have eye drops, then maybe you could grind out that fight and get it done now, but it's just not worth the hassle. Especially because you'd have to buy the eye drops when we can get them for free later on. But cutting back until I got to Lowtown, well, not to Lowtown, to the south end of Rabanashte, you get into one of these gates to get into Lowtown, I meant. You've got this whole suburbs district down here, and this mechanical shop over here to old Darlin's place, which will finally advance the plot 20 minutes later.
Ah, if it isn't Vaan Ratsbane. Come for a tip on how to secure something bigger and in armor by the East Gate?
What? You already heard about that?
Wise I may not be, but well informed I am.
They'll get what's coming to them someday, believe me. But that's not why I'm here.
Do tell.
I want to know how to sneak into the palace. They've got to have some great stuff in there. Thought I'd partake.
Not one to mince words, are you, boy? The Empire protects all that's hers, and that means the palace and all the treasures inside.
That's why I'm gonna do it. To take back what's ours.
So our champion of the sewers aspires to noble action. Admirable. Perhaps I can help you. Ah, now that I think on it, there was a rumor. Yes, a secret passageway into the palace vaults, a door, and a magic stone that opens the way.
That's it. This is exactly why I came to talk to you first, Alan. So, where's this, magic stone?
Oh, I've had it for years, if I can remember where I've tucked it away.
You might have been able to guess by his tone, but he's not going to give us the Crescent Stone, which is the magic stone he was on about, until we do something for him. Not much of a listener, are you? The Crescent Stone has lost its magic. Without the power of a Sunstone, it will be of little use. Right, so where can I get one of these Sunstones? You seek Giza Plain, speak to the nomads there. You will find your Sunstone. Leave by Southgate and continue south. Their village is not far. There are likely to be beasts on the plain, so be careful, my boy. Don't have to worry about me. I'll be back before you know it. And there's our next objective. To head south through the Giza Plains to a small village to retrieve a Sunstone. The Sunstone will then power the Crescent Stone that old Dylan here has, or Darlin has. And that Sunstone will open a door somewhere in the palace. So then, once we get it, it's just a matter of working out how to get into the palace itself. Which I'm sure he will happily help us as and when. But that being said, I think that'll be a nice wrap-up point for today's part. So next time on Final Fantasy XII, we'll be heading south to find that Sunstone so we can get the Crescent Stone powered up so we can enter the palace to try and loot their riches. But until then, you guys take care now. Also, you can teleport off these orange crystals, but still. See ya.